first, I found it sweet. But as time passed, I started to notice small things. He would come home earlier whenever she visited. He would dress better, wear his cologne, something he hadn't done in years. When she laughed, his eyes followed her like a shadow. I tried not to notice. I didn't want to ruin my son's happiness over my silly insecurities. So I smiled. Ethan and Lena were supposed to marry in 2 months. The house was filled with joy. Wedding invitations, fabrics, laughter. For a while, it almost felt like a dream. One afternoon, Lena came to me in the kitchen. She hugged me from behind and said, "Mom, I don't know what I would do without you." Her words melted my heart. I smiled and said, "Just promise me one thing. Keep my son happy." She laughed and nodded. "I will, Mom. I promise." If only I knew how easily promises can be broken. A few weeks later, Daniel started acting strange. He would leave the house late at night for work calls. Sometimes I'd wake up and find his phone missing from the nightstand. When I asked, he'd say, "Oh, I left it charging downstairs." It didn't sound right, but again, I stayed silent. I had spent 25 years keeping peace. Why start a storm now? Then one evening, Ethan mentioned something that made my stomach twist. He said, "Mom, Lena's been a bit distant lately. She says she's just stressed with the wedding, but she's different." I wanted to comfort him, but deep inside, I felt a strange fear. I didn't want to believe what my heart was trying to say. 2 days later, Lena stopped by to drop off some documents. She looked nervous, eyes shifting, hands shaking. For the next few days, I tried to ignore the strange feeling inside me. I told myself that Daniel was just stressed. After all, weddings can make everyone behave differently. But deep down, I knew something was off. He started hiding his phone. Whenever a message came, he'd step outside to check it. When I walked into the room, he'd quickly lock the screen or put it face down. Once, I caught a glimpse of a message preview. Just one word that made my heart skip a beat. "Can't wait." I asked, "Who's that?" He said calmly, "Just a coworker. We're talking about a meeting tomorrow." I nodded and smiled, but my hands were trembling. That night, I couldn't sleep. The sound of rain outside made everything feel heavier. I looked at Daniel, sleeping peacefully beside me, and I wondered, how many secrets can a person hide behind a calm face? The next morning, I decided to clean the house. Sometimes, cleaning helps clear the mind. While dusting the study table, I found something. A small, folded note hidden under a stack of papers. It said, "Last night was unforgettable. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart froze. There was no name, no signature, just those words. Enough to break something inside me. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I placed the note back where I found it. pretending I never saw it. I spent the rest of the day moving like a shadow in my own home. Every sound, every phone vibration, every whisper made me jump. That evening, my son Ethan came home early. He looked worried. He said, "Mom, I think Lena's hiding something. She barely talks to me these days. When I ask about the wedding, she changes the topic." My throat felt dry. I wanted to protect him. My innocent boy, still dreaming of a happy marriage. So I told him softly, "Maybe she's nervous, dear. Give her some space." He nodded, but I saw the pain in his eyes. Later that night, I heard Daniel on the phone in the backyard. He was whispering, his tone soft, familiar, intimate. I moved quietly toward the window and listened. He said, "I'll see you tomorrow then. Don't worry, she won't be home." The next morning, he told me he had to go to the city for a quiet meeting. I smiled and said, "Be safe." But inside, I already knew what I was going to do. I waited until he left. Then I followed him. I felt like a stranger in my own life, hiding behind my steering wheel, driving slowly behind his car. He stopped at a small coffee shop on the other side of town. I parked a little distance away and watched. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it. And then I saw her, Lena. She walked in wearing a blue dress, the same one she wore when she came over for dinner last week. Daniel stood up, smiled, and pulled out a chair for her. He looked happy, too happy. They talked. He reached across the table and held her hand. She didn't pull away. I felt the world collapse inside me. For a long time, I just sat there, frozen, numb, staring through the windshield as rain began to fall again. It blurred everything. The window, the streets, my future. Finally, I started my car and drove home. But I didn't cry. Not yet. Because something inside me had gone beyond tears. When Ethan came home later that evening, he said Lena was busy and didn't answer his calls. I just nodded, pretending to listen. But that night, as I lay in bed beside the man I once called my soulmate, I promised myself one thing. I would find out the full truth, and I would not be silent anymore. The next few days passed like a storm trapped inside my chest. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Daniel and Lena, smiling in that coffee shop. I wanted to scream, but my voice had forgotten how. Then one morning, Ethan came to me. He looked restless. "Mom," he said, "Lena told me she's meeting Dad later today. She said it's something about the wedding finances. Do you know anything about that?" I froze. So she wasn't even hiding it anymore. I forced a calm smile and said, "Yes, I know. Don't worry, sweetheart. Everything's fine." But inside, I was burning. After he left, I decided, today, I'll end this lie. I got ready quietly, I wore a simple dress, tied my hair neatly, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't weak anymore. She was calm, dangerous, and ready to face the truth. I followed Daniel again. This time, I didn't stay in the car. He parked outside a small, rented house, a place I had never seen before. He looked around carefully, then went inside. 5 minutes later, I saw Lena's car pull up. She stepped out, holding a bag, smiling softly. She looked happy, like someone meeting the love of her life. My heart shattered into pieces, but I walked straight toward that door. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the porch, I took a deep breath and knocked. Inside, I heard laughter, his laughter, then silence. A few seconds later, Daniel opened the door. When he saw me, the color drained from his face. "Amelia, what are you doing here?" he stammered. I didn't answer. I just pushed the door open, and there she was, Lena, standing in the living room, frozen like a statue. Her face turned pale when our eyes met. I said quietly, "Don't bother lying. I already know everything." Daniel tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "Not one word," I said. I whispered, "Just not now." For a moment, no one moved. The air felt heavy, full of shame, guilt, and fear. Then I walked toward Lena. "You were supposed to be my daughter," I said softly. "You were about to marry my son. Tell me, how could you do this to him?" Her lips trembled. "It just happened. I didn't mean to." "Didn't mean to?" I interrupted, my voice shaking. "You destroyed my family, my son's heart, my trust. For what? A few stolen moments with a man twice your age?" Tears filled her eyes, but I had none left. I turned to Daniel. "I gave you my youth, my loyalty, my entire life. You were supposed to protect our family, not destroy it." He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "It just got out of control. I didn't plan this. I didn't know how to stop." I stared at him for a long moment. Then I said, "You didn't stop because you didn't want to." He tried to step closer, but I moved back. "Don't," I said firmly. "If you ever respected me, even once, don't come near me." Lena started crying loudly. "Please don't tell Ethan, it was a mistake." I looked at her coldly. "You made your choice. Now you'll face the consequences." I walked out without another word. The wind outside hit my face, but it felt cleaner than the air inside that house. As I drove home, tears finally came. Silent, endless tears that washed away years of love and illusion. That night, I sat Ethan down and told him the truth. Every detail, every betrayal. He didn't say a word for a long time. Then he stood up and left the room. I heard the door slam, and I knew some wounds don't heal easily. But I also knew something else. I had done the right thing. because silence protects no one. Days passed, but the silence in our home was unbearable. Ethan barely spoke to anyone. He stopped eating dinner at the table, stopped smiling, stopped playing the guitar that once filled our home with music. Every time I saw him, my heart ached. I wanted to hug him, to tell him everything would be fine. But I knew words couldn't fix what love had broken. Then, one evening, I got a message from Daniel. Please meet me. I need to talk. I didn't want to see him again, but something inside me said, go. Maybe this time I'd find peace. We met at the same cafe where he once met her. He looked tired, older, almost defeated. When he saw me, he lowered his eyes. I've lost everything, Amelia, he said quietly. Ethan won't answer my calls. Lena left. I sat silently, staring out the window. This isn't about money. It's about dignity. Goodbye, Daniel. When I left the cafe, the air felt lighter. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. A few weeks later, Ethan came to my room. He looked calmer now. Mom, he said softly, I've decided to move abroad for a while. I need time to heal. But I want you to know, I'm not angry at you. You did what was right. I hugged him tightly, tears falling silently. My brave boy, I whispered. Don't let this pain harden your heart. Learn from it, but don't carry it forever. He smiled faintly and said, You always taught me strength, Mom. Now it's my turn to use it. When he left the next morning, I stood at the door, watching his car disappear down the road. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. Months went by. I rebuilt my life quietly. I started volunteering at a local women's center, helping others who'd faced betrayal, loneliness, or loss. Each story reminded me that pain doesn't destroy us, it shapes us. One day, while organizing papers, I came across an old family photo. Daniel, Ethan, and me smiling in the garden. For a moment, tears welled up again. But this time, they weren't of sadness. They were of acceptance. I whispered, Thank you, God, for showing me the truth, even if it broke me first. I learned that justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like peace returning after a storm. Daniel lost everything he betrayed. Lena vanished from our lives, leaving behind only the echo of her choices. And me, I found myself again. I no longer lived in fear or heartbreak. I learned to smile for my own reasons, not for others' approval. If you've ever been betrayed by the ones you love the most, remember this. You can't control what others do to you, but you can control what you choose to become after it. Pain changes people, but you decide how. Let it make you wiser, not bitter. Let it make you strong, not hard. Sometimes, walking away isn't weakness. It's the loudest form of self-respect. Because the truth will always come out. And when it does, make sure you're standing tall with a peaceful heart and clean hands. Doesn't always need revenge. Sometimes, peace itself is justice.